This is how you learn languages by speaking from day one. You can 100% start speaking from day one. It's a myth that you should avoid that and that you should do many months of input only and all that nonsense. You can start speaking from day one if you want, if you do it right. Of course, input will help as well. You need to learn to understand as well. You need to improve your comprehension, and for that, you need vocabulary and you need to listen. And yeah, but there's no reason not to speak from day one if what you want to do is to talk. This is the best way to do it. This is the language islands technique. You create lists of sentences for specific situations, conversations, and topics, different interactions, a group of sentences for each one of them, and then you learn the whole list. Lots of drilling, listening and repeating, and it's pretty easy to learn 10, 20, 30 sentences for a specific conversation or situation and do well in that scenario. This is how you should do it. Like, these are some sentences for Turkish that I've prepared. There are like 20 maybe here. I don't know. 7, 8, 16, 15, 16 sentences. Okay. So you should, and yeah, and we've got the translation, but basically I've already learned the vocab with mnemonic associations. So now it'll be a matter of listening and repeating, lots of drilling until I can say them correctly. And for that, I recommend slowing it down first, so 0.75 speed. Slower than that will be just too weird, but 0.75 is good. And you should read along while listening, so you learn the right pronunciation, and you should sub vocalize while you can shadow it as well. You can say it aloud while you listening to it, but I recommend just doing it quietly at first. Just whisper it because if you hear your own voice more than the actual audio, you won't work on your pronunciation that much. So at first, start quietly and then slowly raise your voice once you learn the right pronunciation. So this is how it works.
Ben Türkçe öğreniyorum. Türkçe konuşmayı seviyorum. Zor bir dil çünkü çok farklı. Ama dilleri çok hızlı öğrenmeyi biliyorum. Dil öğrenmeyi seviyorum. İnsanlarla kendi dillerinde konuşmayı seviyorum. Çok fazla Türk tanıyorum. 2 yıl Almanya'da yaşadım. Orada pek çok Türk'le tanıştım. Almanya'da çok sayıda Türk yaşıyor. Türk yemekleri çok güzel. Berlin'de yaşadığım dönemde çok fazla döner yedim. Türkiye'ye hiç gitmedim. Bir gün Türkiye'ye gideceğim. Oraya tatile gitmek istiyorum.
And you go back and you do it again and again and again. You'll make lots of mistakes. You get lost sometimes. It's just hard to follow. If if it's way too difficult to do it even like that, then you can simply
Ben Türkçe öğreniyorum.
do it just with one sentence at a time.
Ben Türkçe öğreniyorum.
Ben Türkçe öğreniyorum.
Ben Türkçe öğreniyorum.
Ben Türkçe öğreniyorum.
Ben Türkçe öğreniyorum.
Ben Türkçe öğreniyorum. And you do it with one sentence as many times as necessary, then with the next, then with the next, and so on. And then you do the whole thing again. You do it 0.75. Once that's getting easy, you switch to 0.1.
Tule. Ben Türkçe öğreniyorum. Türkçe konuşmayı seviyorum. Zor bir dil çünkü çok farklı. Ama dilleri çok hızlı öğrenmeyi biliyorum. Dil öğrenmeyi seviyorum. İnsanlarla kendi dillerinde konuşmayı seviyorum.
And eventually this one will get too easy as well, and you do it at normal speed. I don't recommend going like 1.5 or things like that. I mean, you could, but you don't want to sound like you're Ben Shapiro when you when you speak in Turkish, right? Like, you want to sound like a normal person. Um, I have done it before. I'll do it if the language is if I know the sentences really well. Maybe I'll go really fast and yeah, do it 1. I can't obviously do it for Turkish now.
Tule. Ben Türkçe öğreniyorum. Türkçe konuşmayı seviyorum. Zor bir dil çünkü çok farklı. Ama dilleri çok hızlı öğrenmeyi biliyorum.
But you could do it if you've been practicing a lot and normal speed is already easy. You could do it, but there's no real benefit when it comes to speaking. It's good for comprehension if you do it if you're doing it at 1.2, 1.5 speed, or even double speed, you're working on your comprehension, right? Because then understanding native speakers will be much easier because they'll sound slow in comparison. But what you don't want to do is to sound again like a machine gun. You don't want to talk like that. You want to sound normal when you speak. So start slow, like ben Turce ore ignorum, like really slow, and then 0.75, and then 0.8 or 0.9, whatever the speed is, and then normal speed eventually. But like slowly increase the level of difficulty until normal speed. You don't need to go faster, honestly. But important, obviously, you should memorize the vocab first with associations. Otherwise, repeating sentences aloud when you don't know the vocab. I mean, eventually you learn with a lot of repetition, but it's much more effective to just memorize them first. It'd be much easier. Also, you could download the audio and then binge listen to it. But you see, this is half a minute of audio, so you could listen and repeat these sentences 10 times a day, like to the whole thing. And this is just one bit. Like I'm learning Turkish, I like learning Turkish, I like learning languages, blah, blah, blah. This is a good way to learn grammar as well. You just learn a bunch of sentences in context, you memorize them with repetition, useful sentences for conversation, and you learn the grammar simply by using the grammar. If you learn 15 sentences with this one, and then you some of the language islands I do they're much longer, but like maybe 30 sentences. Some of them are like over 100, depending on the topic. But yeah, you can learn thousands of sentences doing this in a short amount of time if you first use associations. And with this, you can learn useful sentences from day one, practice your speaking from day one, and get good at speaking early. As long as you practice speaking, yeah, you say the stuff aloud. All you need is translator, a translator, and willingness to sit down and write sentences in English or whatever your language is, and then you translate everything into the target language, and you create an audio file, and you listen and repeat, and that's it. You should combine this with lots of memorization of vocab and then listening practice, and you'll be speaking the language well, and you'll understand it in a few weeks. It's not that complicated.